What's going on, y'all? Carlito here, back with another video on your screen. I'm here with one half of the ECW, tag team champs, with Lance Storm and ECW, heavyweight champion and multi champion everywhere, just incredible. I want to thank you again for coming on the channel. Thank you, Peter, for real, bro. And
Mhm.
big shout out to all my sponsors. You got big financial services here in San Antonio, LLC. Go check them out. The links will be in the description down below. Gamez Law Firm and Mala Azul, best tequila brand in the game, and Truck Bids of Texas, always putting on. Thank y'all. And let everyone know, bro, everything about you if they don't know you.
Yeah, my name, I go by the wrestling name of Justin Credible. That's one of the more, most famous name. My real name's pjpolaco. I've been in the wrestling business for 30 plus years, going on 32 years this year. October 16th will mark my 32 years in the business, which is wild. I started when I was 19. I've been to WWE three times from 94 to 97, 2001 to 2003, in 2005 to 2007. So I've been there. ECW, obviously, TNA, Ring of Honor, all Japan, all over the world. Impact, TNA again. I think I already said that. But anyways, been everywhere, done everything, and most recently this past weekend, I just did a surprise guest spot when GCW came to Hartford. I did a big surprise appearance. Came in and broke a kendo stick over a couple people, which was great. I got an amazing response, something I did not expect at all, which was dope for
And
sure.
exactly when I did see that, start off with that.
Oh, you saw the clip?
Yeah, when I saw that clip, I was
Nice.
like, brought chills back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, damn, it was this like classic move.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
just, looking back, I was wearing brand new sneakers that were way too tight, so I had a hard time walking around, and I was like, you could tell I'm like maybe 30 pounds overweight in my belly, so I got to get, that's the only thing I didn't like seeing, but other than that, the response was great, the people were great, and I'm really looking forward to doing something more. If not even if not with them, with somebody else, I really got that itch, that want to get back in there now for sure. Great
bro,
weekend. Great weekend.
for real. That's what brought me. It kind of brought me back to like a little bit of a chill right there, bro. And
Mm.
I said, yeah, he needs to come back for real. He needs to come back and do something. Anywhere there's a bunch of wrestling organizations all over,
Yeah.
and you know, I'm sure, man, anybody will be happy to see you back in the ring.
Well,
And
that's the thing. It's like when that music starts to play. I really believe if you're a hardcore wrestling fan, like these fans obviously are, it's not necessarily a mainstream thing, but these are the real fans, the real smart fans that appreciate the history of the business. They know the history, so when that music started to play, it's like they kind of knew already. And then when I came out, it was like holy shit. And fans love nostalgia. They love to see old heroes. I mean, it's to build a company, you need the new guys, you need new stars, new athletes. But for sure, the fact that it was, that nostalgia, always, there's always a place for that, is what I'm trying to say, and fans love it. So it was just a good show, good time, for sure.
amen, bro, amen. And I wanted to bring you back on. I know you've been on in the past quite a few times. And to my new subscribers, I'm not too sure if y'all know, who this legend is, but I want to kind of give you a quick little run through about, where he's been. He's been all over the world, especially, WWF to WWE, did some spots, but he really took over in ECW with Lance Storm, primetime players to, many other gigs. And if y'all go check him out, go Google him or even go pull up the WWE network
That's
to
right. Yep.
Peacock and look them up there, and yeah, they've done some one night stands here and there, but nothing like the original ECW. And
No,
um,
sure.
um, but I guess they have their own things, their own thoughts, but let everyone know, bro, like kind of a little bit of a backstory.
Of my career?
Yeah.
Sure, man. I was always a fan of the business, loved wrestling. Starting in 1992, I had graduated high school the year before. My plan was to take a year off before I went to college, or at least that was my hope or anticipation. And as I was working to save some money up, back then, this is before social media, this is before cell phones, anything like that, or even in the internet. To be honest, I was on break reading those old school wrestling magazines. Remember those?
Mm-hmm.
And I came across an advertisement on the very end of the page of the magazine, and it was for the Hart Brothers Pro Wrestling Camp. And I'd never, back then it was still very kayfabe. It was very hard to get into the business. These days it's so much easier because you just go online, Google Pro Wrestling School, and a bunch will pop up. Back then we had no frame of reference, and even if we did, there were still very few schools available. So you really had to go out of your way to find a place to train to be a pro wrestler. So they had a phone number there for the Hart brothers, and I called and I spoke to Bruce Hart, one of the older Hart brothers, and we set something up for their summer class, which was, I live in Connecticut, so I had to get a plane ticket and to fly all the way to Calgary, stay there for 2 months. It was Monday through Friday, 2 3 hours a day, to train to be a wrestler. I got there on the first week of July, left in the first week of September, got 2 full months in. My trainer at the time was Lance Storm, because he and famously Chris Jericho had been to the same school I went to the year before. They went through in '91, so Lance was kind of there to, help out and help with the kids and get in the ring himself. So I did a lot of training with Lance Storm, and that's how we formed our friendship, in those years. And man, it was an amazing experience. Got a great wrestling education, and after that was over, there was a small organization in Calgary called Rocky Mountain Pro Wrestling, and they were starting up. They were going to run once a week in Calgary. In Calgary, if, most of you guys know, is like the Harts. Bret Hart, Owen Hart. The Hart family, but also very famous for the territory Stampede, which was owned by Father Stu Hart. And they were kind of doing another revamp and starting to do local wrestling in Calgary. I had my first 10 matches there that year. I think my fourth match ever was against Chris Jericho, which is wild. He was a baby then too. And I also got to wrestle, my mentor Lance Storm. So yeah, man, it was just a great start to my pro wrestling career. And then in 1993, I came back to Connecticut.
Damn, bro. It's always good to hear that, bro. Like, and everybody out there, y'all put respect on his name because he's been through it all. It's like everybody else, and just extremely like ECW original. You
Oh,
know,
for sure, yeah. And it's great because I also had the privilege of getting to really be part of something in its infancy. Like, I literally had, when, Jericho had only had a handful of matches. Lance had only had a handful of matches. So we're all like kids here. You know what I mean? We're just
yeah.
young. None of us have success yet, and I'm working with these guys, and we all ended up becoming successful later on down the line. So I wish we had, there's recordings of these somewhere, but it's got to be on somebody's VHS, way back in the day shit. I wish I had them. I don't. I know one of those matches is online on YouTube, but it's neither against Lance nor Chris. But I am going to speak to Lance actually. I think he does have those matches somewhere because Lance is pretty good at keeping those, and I'm going to see if I can get those and put them out on YouTube. But yeah, man. I mean, it was a great time to get into the pro wrestling business.
Amen. Amen. Talk about, what do you think about this wrestling? I know we talked about in the past.
Sure.
Um, But what do you talk about this wrestling? How do you think about how wrestling's going right now, especially with the Roman Reigns and the Bloodline storyline? How do you feel about what from that storyline to the passive storylines? What do you think is makes that one really good?
That's a great question. That's a really good question. I don't know for sure because I followed the storyline. Don't get me wrong, but I have not followed it as closely as I probably should to fairly comment on it. But what I will say is that I'm pretty sure of is that this is a storyline for the first time in a very long time, especially in the WWE, where they took their time with this, right? They weren't in a rush. We're so used to in these days. There's a pay per view every month. Now they call them whatever premium live events. But for us, you know what I'm saying when they say pay per view. That's what we were used to calling them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they're premium live events, whatever. But it's still the same shit. And we were used to, pretty much every month have a new opponent, right? For a
Yep.
storyline. And this was the first time in decades. I don't even know, maybe if ever. I'm sure not ever, but I'm sure there's a record out there somewhere that this bloodline story started. And over it's about 3 years now is when I last read it somewhere, a reputable source. I don't know if it was Dave Meltzer or one of the other reputable sources, but this has been going on for years, and I think it really almost like a soap opera or a movie or something like that. It just really they did an immaculate job of pushing it forward, not fast. They're not trying to hurry to get to WrestleMania. They're working the storyline so perfectly and took their time. I think that's the difference. I think for a very long time, WWE especially were just worried about how on to the next one, and I think they recognize that that's not a model that you could keep for very long because, okay, what happens when you feed your top guy? Like, let's say it was Seth Rollins. Let's say you put him up against Roman Reigns. He beats him. Then where do you go from there? You know what I mean? Because you could recycle it down the line, but it's not as good. And they've just done an immaculate job of just keeping this thing moving in very different ways. In many ways, they made Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens through all of this. They made other wrestlers, all of them involved in this. Everybody moved forward, and that's what the beauty of wrestling is. If done right, everybody should kind of, whether you win or lose, everybody should kind of move forward and get better because of it, and that's been the case here. I can't explain it. All I could say is they sometimes it's about the right place, right time, and right story. And I think whatever happened through those years, they just had the pulse on it and they felt it. The fans felt it. In WWE, for the first time in a long time, acknowledged it and went with it. And maybe it was Hunter, the fact that he had the book for a long time, writing the stories and whatnot. I don't know what it was, but everything just has seemed to work out. And I thought, to be honest, and we're still figuring out that was wrong because when Cody came to WWE, everybody thought, he should drop the belt to Cody. Roman Reigns should
He
at WrestleMania,
came back,
and
yeah.
people were upset that it didn't happen. Now, seeing what you've seen with Jey Uso, are you sure that what I mean? It shouldn't have happened because it looks like it should have. Like there was still more to it, right? So they seem to really know what they're doing right now. And hats off to them, man. They're enjoying huge success. The numbers on SmackDown are through the roof. I think they pulled, if I'm not mistaken, one of their biggest SmackDown numbers ever. So they're just doing great business, man. And I really hope they can continue what they're doing to the next WrestleMania. I really do.
Yeah, I was just like I tell people from time to time, like they're like, oh, because they see me, I interview pro boxers a lot. And they're like, do you interview anybody else? And I said, well, I interview pro wrestlers, I interview influencers,
Yep.
and the list goes on. I was like, man, I interview the world. But there was one thing I was like, I would love to interview wrestlers a lot more too, just because that was my
Yep.
first love was pro wrestling, and I was like, man, why not?
Yeah.
But see where this storyline's at though, with the bloodline and acknowledgement and
Hmm.
the tribal chief. Um, a hell of a storyline, bro. It reminds me of the old days with The Rock,
Exactly. Exactly.
Austin,
Yeah.
and
And even back further, you could say to Roddy Piper and
yeah,
Hogan and all
Hogan.
those. It really it's been an amazingly and it's hard to do. It's not easy to do. I think hats off to Roman Reigns, hats off to the Usos. I mean, everybody just that's been used in this. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, everybody that's been in this storyline has just done an amazing job. And it's like anything else, dude. If you watch a good movie, you know it's good. You could feel it. It's different, and this has just been different, And I think WWE, for a very long time, people were sleeping on them. With AEW coming out the past couple of years, I think people were like, "Wow, these guys are coming in. They have a lot of money. They seem to be taking a lot of the stars, right, and trying to use them over there." And WWE didn't flinch and just said, "Okay," and kind of I think that helped them again. Competition, like the Monday Night Wars, competition breeds great work because it's a little tighter at the top. They might say, oh, and it's true. I mean, AEW is not a real threat to Vince, although it could be,
Mm-hmm.
but at this moment it's not, But I think they recognize that, hey, we got another company that's on TBS, TNT. They have a lot of money. They have a lot of our superstars. It could shift real quick. And I think they recognize that and are like, put this storyline together and said, well, let's just change how we do it. And with this angle and the way they've kind of just run the story, it's just been immaculate. What the question I ask is, why did it take so long to
No,
do storylines like this? Because they should have been doing this all along, And you can't tell me it was a lack of talent because WWE to this day has so many talented guys. I mean, they let the guys the guys they haven't AEW, the Danielsons and the Moxleys and so forth, the Jerichos. There's so many go on and on. I
MJF.
mean, they were there. So, I mean, it was a lack of creativity in WWE. So now I think this has been a game changer. And, you know, it just opened up a lot of eyes. And it really, again, the competition from AEW, I think, sparked Vince and company to do something like this, to have this, let's take our time. Let's really right this ship and give the fans what they want. And I think a lot of that again has to do with Triple H. I really do.
Facts. Yeah, I was just thinking about, I was talking to one of my boys the other day, and I was just thinking about like, with the Roman Reigns, how far he
Mhm.
came. I was
Yep.
like, would y'all think the Shield storyline to with their gimmick that they had would go up against like the Usos versus with the Roman Reigns of that era? You
Oh wow, yeah,
who
yeah,
would who like what team would win? You know, and
yeah. I mean, it's wild, right?
yeah, it's just wild to think about, and like I guess I'm thinking about like the old school days of playing the 64s and
Yes.
PlayStation
Yep. That's
and
right.
putting
Yeah.
these wrestlers together in different outfits, that they've been in.
Yep. And
Um,
I think the fans appreciate the stuff like that. WWE, I think we live in a culture where we really love, like, there's so many more. One thing that didn't exist 20 years ago the way it does today, there were always gamers, but video games and gamers themselves, they really enjoy, creating these worlds that they play video games in as far as the characters and stuff and doing storylines. It's a great way to pass the time if you like video games. And there's so much more of that today than because gaming has become so huge. I think WWE kind of noticed it and started to kind of work it towards that. You know what I mean? Like almost like get everybody involved and make it like a game in some ways. Like not be afraid to take certain aspects of wrestling and make it more attractive to people like gamers, you know what I mean, and bring them along and get them involved in the world or the universe of WWE, as they say.
yeah. That's facts. And there's so many things going on right now. Like where do you see yourself in like the next 6 months? Where would you like to see
Mm.
yourself?
That's a great question. What I'd like to see myself after this weekend, which again was just one show, I would love to see myself do more for GCW. That's one thing, man. They are, and I'm not into in GCW. I'll back it up. They have a very much like a style like ECW. And what I mean by that is not necessarily that they're like ECW, but I don't like garbage wrestling. I just never did. I don't like the light tubes. I don't like any of that stuff. I think it's too much for me. Um, which may sound funny coming from an ECW guy, but because to me it's like I've done some of that stuff, but it was all about storytelling when I did that stuff. But that being said, fans do like it, and I think GCW, just like ECW, I wasn't a fan of some of New Jack's and stuff and Balls Mahoney and Axel Rotten. I wasn't necessarily a fan of that either, but there was a place for it. And again, GCW reminds me very much like ECW, where you'll get some garbage wrestling, you'll get some funny shit like comedy stuff, right? They do some outrageous shit with comedy and with storylines with their wrestling, and they'll also just have straight up good matches, right? Like real wrestling matches, and that's what ECW did. I mean, they would have, Funk and Sabu in a barbed wire match, and then they would have Super Crazy versus Tajiri or Jerry Lynn versus Just Incredible, or the Dudleys, you know what I mean? And whatever. They just had a huge, you know what I mean? A little bit of for everyone. And I think GCW very much reminds me of that. So that's where I would love to get an opportunity in the future if it came about, for sure.
Easily, bro. I would love to see that. And it's just seeing what the wrestling is now to the business and to seeing how far all these wrestlers have come to the past ones. It's like now it's kind of like the wrestling fan in me is coming back a little bit more and more when I
Yeah.
see what WWE is doing, and I see these high flyers, man. They're just like kind of remind me back in the day.
Yeah.
Um,
For sure.
I'm not sure if you know Ricochet and
Yeah.
WWE.
Of course.
He did this like outrageously like backflip outside of the ring in front of Logan Paul.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. Yeah. Yeah. I saw
I
that.
thought
Yeah.
that was like I was like, wow, like this dude did that, landed on his feet,
Yeah.
and it's crazy to see how far it's come.
Yeah,
But
and it's only going to get better. I think we as a community in pro wrestling have really set a high bar and a high standard for professional wrestling, like the action and the matches you see week to week. So I think we're just starting really in this new kind of renaissance, so to speak, of pro wrestling, where I think fans will only um, appreciate it more, not appreciate it more. They'll always appreciate wrestling, but I think they will demand a better product because they now have seen so much good shit. You're not gonna. It's hard to go back, right? So I think it's going to keep pushing the athlete in the envelope, not necessarily to do crazier stunts or crazier moves, but to just keep telling good stories. So I think we got a lot of fun and good stuff ahead in the business in the next year and next 2 years. I'm looking forward to the next couple of years, and they should be blockbusters for real. You know.
damn, bro, I know that we're running a little bit out of time with this
Oh my God, already, huh?
on the Zoom. But I want to thank you again.
Oh,
Thank you,
for sure, man.
and I would love to have you back on. And
Sure.
we'll let everybody know where they can follow you at and follow your journey, bro. Like the next
Yeah.
step.
Well, absolutely. Just follow me both on Twitter and on Instagram at pjpolaco. I'm always posting on both. Also, if you're interested in any of my many, I think I have like 20 something t-shirts available, go to prowrestlingtees.com /Just Incredible. You have many to choose from, and even a couple of Aldo Montoya's. And look out on my Twitter page. In the next 2 or 3 months, I'm having an official Aldo Montoya doll. I can't say who's making it, but it's a toy company, and it will be the first ever Aldo Montoya action figure, which I'm really excited about. So that look forward to that, and just we'll see what happens next, man. A lot of good stuff is going on. I'm very excited about the future and where the business is going, man.
Amen, bro. And that was a, great ending off. And I know we still have some more stuff to talk about, but everyone, y'all go follow him. Go follow his journey.
If you guys listen, I'll do you and the program a favor. If you guys follow me, tell me you came from this podcast, right? And I'll follow you back. Because if you're a fan of the podcast, I'll be a fan of yours. So tell me you heard it here, and I'll hit the follow button and follow you all back. So we'll
Amen.
do that.
Y'all have heard it here from the man himself, just incredible, PJ Polaco. And I appreciate you coming on the channel, bro. Thank you for taking time out of your day again.
Thank
And
you, Carlos, for having me, brother. I appreciate you.
amen, bro. And go check out prowrestlingtees.com. Go Google him, go buy one of his shirts, go support him, and support the next step in his life, with anything that he's gonna do. And it's been Polaco, just incredible. Carlito, one love. We out.
Thank you.